It's time to go through weeks 12 and 13 of the Sophisticated Declutter. By the end of these 2 weeks, we're going to be halfway done with the Sophisticated Declutter. I am so proud of you if you're keeping up with me. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I will link the entire Sophisticated Declutter playlist. It is a 6-month declutter of our entire homes. Feel free to jump in and join me right now, or to start from the very beginning if you'd like. But if you're here with me, about ready to start week 12, I want to go over some basic tips and tricks, what to expect and what you should focus on over the next 2 weeks. I've broken the bedroom down into 2 separate spots. Number 1 is our nightstands and number 2 is our dresser. So if you have other spaces in your bedroom that you also need to declutter, maybe you have some under bed storage, maybe you have a bench at the end of your bed, please try and work those areas into the 2 weeks that we have for our bedrooms to make sure your entire space is decluttered by the end of week 13. If you have other areas in your bedroom, like a desk that has more traditional office supplies, I would hold off on that until we cover the office a little bit later, and we'll talk about how to declutter office supplies, papers, and all of that. So just focus on things that are traditionally in your bedroom. And on week 12, we're starting with our nightstands. Hopefully this should be a pretty quick week for you. Maybe you have 1 nightstand, maybe you have 2, maybe you have none, or maybe you have something different that's a non-traditional side table or something like that. I try and keep it as bare bones as possible in my nightstand. I really like to think about keeping things in my nightstand that I actually need while I'm in bed, or bedside, I guess. So if you have a book that you read at night, maybe you like to store a charger in there, a notepad and a pen. If you have some chapstick or hand lotion you like putting on right before you go to bed, if you have an eye mask, those are all great types of things to keep in your nightstand. What I'm saying is I don't want this to be a junk drawer in your home. If it's something you don't need in your bed or around bedtime or as part of your morning or evening routine, it can probably be relocated to another space. And that's going to be the key. Is it something that needs to be relocated to another space in your home, or is it going to be something that you can actually declutter? Either way, please address it as you're going through your nightstand. You can also take the time to declutter the top of your nightstand while we're doing this. I keep it minimal. Again, I have a lamp on top of my nightstand. Maybe you have a photo or a Kleenex box. I have a newborn right now, so my nightstand does tend to get full every night from all of the things that are going on throughout the night with a newborn that wakes up all the time. But other than that, on a normal basis, I try and keep it very, very clean of clutter. And I don't want you to overthink this week 12. Hopefully it should be a nice and easy week for you during this decluttering challenge. On week 13, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, so think about that as you're in week 12. If you finish up early, maybe you want to get a jump start, because we're going to be doing our dresser. This week is setting us up and leading us into our closet, which we're focusing on next. So if you have a dresser that's in your closet, you can also start on that right now during week 13. When I talk about how the Sophisticated Declutter is very flexible, no matter what your job is or lack thereof, maybe you're retired or a stay-at-home mom or something, different schedules lend themselves to a different strategy that you might want to take here. So if you're somebody that just has a little bit of time every single day, maybe you want to take a little time every day to declutter 1 dresser drawer at a time, and that's going to be the way that you're going to work through your dresser. I have 10 drawers in my dresser, so knowing that at the outset, I know that I can't do 1 drawer per day because there's only 7 days in the week, so some drawers I'm going to have to double up. But doing something like that might work really well with your schedule. Or maybe you want to take one day and just attack your entire dresser and get it all done in one day. That might work better for you. Regardless of the way that you do this, typically what we have in our dresser is things like undergarments and socks, pajamas, maybe more casual clothing. If you have t-shirts, sweatshirts, pants, those types of things are usually in our dresser. So having that mindset of this is typically the type of stuff that you should be wearing on a regular basis will help you in decluttering this type of clothing. And knowing that is helpful, because if you're going through and you're thinking, I can't remember the last time I wore this plain white t-shirt, if it's a plain white t-shirt and it's meant to be worn on a somewhat regular basis and you haven't worn it in the last year, then that could be a prime candidate for something that you want to declutter. I don't love the idea of assigning an amount of time to how often you should wear a piece of clothing for it to have the right to stay in your dresser or in your closet. So that's not a method I typically use, but more so just going through and thinking of all of the basics, like, do I love it? Does it fit me? Is it in good shape? All of these different types of questions you can be asking yourself as you're going through your basic clothing. And as you're doing this, I would also really encourage you to be pulling everything out of your dresser, whether it's one drawer at a time or just absolutely pouring everything out. Sometimes that can be a little bit overwhelming. And then categorizing things also helps you realize if you have a lot of duplicates of things you can get rid of. Again, white t-shirt example, maybe you have 10 white t-shirts and you just do not need that many white t-shirts because you do your laundry once a week and you're not wearing 10 shirts in 1 week. So you can spare a few of them and declutter that way, but you might surprise yourself what happens if you take all of your clothing out and start with that, and start by putting in the items that you know you're wearing all the time, you know you love and are your favorites, putting those in first, and then focusing your attention on those maybes and being really intentional with each and every item you put back into your dresser. That's one of my favorite ways to declutter. I have lots more to share with you on nightstand and dresser organization. If you have any specific questions, I will have question boxes on Instagram that you can ask me about decluttering clothing over these next few weeks. If you have any specific questions, you can drop them here in the comments below, or I will also have question boxes pretty much every week of the Sophisticated Declutter where you can ask me questions about decluttering that space in your home and I will respond and share those things with you. I am so proud of you for making it to being halfway through the Sophisticated Declutter. Hopefully you're feeling what I'm feeling, that motivation every time we finish up a space, and you're gearing up to stick with me for the back half of this challenge. But until next time, I will see you all later.